Hello, I'm Lara Kochersen and this is Newsfeed, your dose of what people are talking about online. Pro-Palestinian supporters are outraged after Israel intercepted the Freedom Flotilla, which was attempting to break the crippling siege on Gaza. On Monday, Israel stopped the UK-flagged vessel Madeleine in international waters and forcibly captured 12 activists, including Greta Thunberg. By Tuesday, 4 of the activists, including Thunberg, were sent to their home countries after signing deportation papers. The remaining 8 international activists reportedly refused to sign the documents following hearings, and as of Wednesday are still in Israeli detention. The Madeleine was carrying humanitarian aid and aimed to raise awareness of the suffering of Gazans.
I made it very clear in my testimony that we were kidnapped on international waters and brought there against our own will into Israel. Once again, the Freedom Flotilla coalition has been continuously sending boats aiming to break the siege and open up a humanitarian corridor since 2008. And this was one of those missions. And right now, more important than ever, because of the siege and because of the systematic starvation of over 2 million people and the full-blown live stream genocide, this was a mission of attempting to once again bring aid to Gaza, which is desperately needed, but also to send solidarity and say that we see you, we see what is happening, and we cannot accept just witnessing all this and doing nothing.
Actually, we are all, by the way, saying this in Gaza. Why we don't have 20 flotilla, 20 boats, at least 1 or 2 weekly? Hala, the Israelis can stop 1, can stop 2. Yes, they can arrest the 3rd boat crew. Yes, they can prevent the 4th, but they can't stop 10, 20, 30. And just imagine if these are at the same time with other convoys by land.
Bisan has been trapped in Gaza since Israeli bombs started raining down on October 7, 2023. She's been using her social media to give the world a front row seat of the horrors of her life during war. Bisan is now urging the millions of pro-Palestinian supporters across the world to make their way to Gaza's borders. With diplomatic efforts to end the war in the highest levels of power failing, activists are now changing tactics and choosing to make their way to Gaza's borders on land with the aid Israel is denying Palestinians.
People have organized an international global march to Gaza, where citizens from over 30 different countries are going to march right up to the border and try and force food in, which is a pretty brilliant move, really. Because what can the IDF possibly do without causing a serious international incident when you have civilians from over 30 allied countries at your border with food forcing themselves in? That's genius, really. And there's 3 organizations that are doing this. The first one is a march across all of Europe. Starting at Belgium, they're going to be picking up as many people as possible on a bus route and getting down to Egypt. Another one is starting in Cairo, Egypt, and all you got to do is get on an airplane and be there before June 11th. A pile of unarmed civilians with a bunch of food forcing their way in. They're forcing a decision to be made. I really look forward to the results of this.
Social media sites are also overflowing with videos of a convoy of buses and private vehicles from Tunisia, which has picked up supporters from Algeria and Libya. Laden with aid, they are bound for Gaza via Egypt's Rafah crossing. In what's looking like a summer of action to end the blockade in the enclave, pro-Palestinian supporters from several nations are hoping to harness people to pressure governments to end the war and the suffering. Thousands of people around the world were left hanging on Tuesday after OpenAI's ChatGPT went down. Users were stunned when error messages replaced expected replies to prompts on the chatbot. By Wednesday, the services appeared to be returning. Creators took to socials to protest the disruptions. Adoption of AI tools continues, marrying technology with everyday life as well as the workplace. They're being used in sectors such as research, creative writing, and coding.
As people are increasingly becoming dependent on artificial intelligence, once again it has been seen that technology can have its limitations and access to it can be abruptly interrupted. OpenAI acknowledged the outage on its system status page, confirming that both ChatGPT and its text-to-video platform Sora were affected. As per Down Detector, user reports of ChatGPT outages surged rapidly around 3 p.m. Users attempting to access ChatGPT encountered repeated error messages such as, something seems to have gone wrong and a network error occurred. Please check your connection and try again. So for scores of users who rely on AI tools for daily tasks, even like drafting emails, it was a reality check and a reminder that 24/7 access to technology cannot be taken for granted.
Ironically, the massive outage of the AI platform comes as new research from Apple suggests that machine intelligence is not yet ready to replace human intelligence. A paper produced by the tech giant goes as far as to assert that AI has created the illusion of thinking, but it isn't really as smart as it pretends to be.
So much for our new AI overlords. A new study just dropped from Apple, of all places, saying today's top reasoning models basically have an illusion of thinking. They tested the big boys from OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic on complex puzzles. And guess what? On really hard problems, their accuracy completely collapses to near zero. The AI models literally just give up and stop trying, even when they have plenty of computing power. Apple's paper says they aren't reasoning. They're just really good at matching patterns. A tiny, irrelevant change to a prompt can make their performance drop by 65%.
The paper gives AI critics some fodder and may appear to appease those afraid of losing their jobs. But some analysts feel that the timing is actually Apple's way of taking a swipe at its competitors.
Apple has become the Redditor, the guy who's like, well, actually, that's not how it works. Whilst everyone else is just getting on building models and using them, Apple are sadly dropping the ball when it comes to AI. And spending their time putting out research papers like this to dump on other people's models doesn't really do anything. It's not positive, it's not pushing anything forward, it's not progression. If they were putting out models and features and useful AI, not the stuff we've got on our phone right now, then yeah, sure, do all this research on the side. But you kind of lose your position as a frontier leading-edge technology company when one of your largest AI announcements is a research paper about how AI doesn't actually think. Whether or not they actually think is not that important.
Unlike the movie title, It Ends With Us, the legal battles between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni are far from over. It was meant to be the perfect chick flick with a powerful message: stand up against abuse. And that's exactly what Lively, who played the main character, decided to do months after it was released last year. She alleged that her co-star and director of the film, Baldoni, had sexually harassed her during production. Lively has also accused Baldoni and his company Wayfarer Studios of launching a smear campaign against her, all leading to emotional distress. The New York Times was also dragged into the mess. Baldoni's lawyers hit the publication with a $250 million lawsuit after it put out an article about the claims. A few weeks later, the team sued Lively and her husband for $400 million, claiming extortion, defamation, and invasion of privacy. But both cases have now been thrown out by a New York judge. The ruling stated there was no adequate evidence to prove extortion and defamation assertions against Baldoni. But he has been allowed to amend and refile arguments tied to the interference of contracts in the next 2 weeks. The case against the New York Times is also dismissed under the judgment that the reporting by the paper was fair.
The judge is saying, number one, Blake Lively only made statements in her official legal complaint, and those statements are protected by law, so she can't be sued for them. Number two, Justin and company claimed that Ryan Reynolds, his publicist Leslie Sloan, and the New York Times all made damaging statements. But the judge says that in Justin's lawsuit, they didn't show that Ryan, Leslie, and the Times had any reason to doubt what they were saying. For all intents and purposes, they could have believed those statements to be truthful. And as a reminder here, for someone to defame you, you have to show that they knew that what they were saying was false.
There is still a trial very much going on. This motion being granted does not mean Justin Baldoni SH Blake Lively. There is multiple cases going on. Blake Lively's case saying Justin Baldoni SH her is still very much alive. She still has to prove that March of 2026. Justin Baldoni filing this after Blake filed that was just going to be the cherry on top, because you defamed him, you gotta pay him damages. Right now, this case is stalled at best. At worst, it doesn't come back alive. If it doesn't come back alive, that doesn't mean nothing. Blake still has to go to court in March and prove to a jury that Justin Baldoni in fact did SH her.
I wouldn't come here, to be honest. Oslo is just not... I mean, is it even a city? Everything is just so available. If you don't have to stand in line for at least a couple of hours, is it even worth seeing?
Sometimes I just walk right in off the street and get a table.
I think a city should feel a little hard to get. It's not supposed to be easy.
That's not your typical tourism pitch, but it worked. Last year, Oslo's dry ad campaign went viral and won over travelers. And maybe it paid off because Norway hit a tourism record. More than 38 million people booked overnight stays across the country in 2024. But the surge in visitors has overwhelmed some spots like the Lofoten Islands. Social media's stunning hiking photos brought in tourists in droves, and now locals are struggling to keep up. So Norway is taking action. It's the latest country in Europe to approve a tourist tax. Local councils will now be allowed to add a 3% tax on overnight stays in areas under pressure. It will be included in hotel prices and can be adjusted depending on the season. And the money won't just disappear. It'll go straight into upgrading tourism infrastructure, roads, waste management, and facilities that benefit both locals and tourists. But towns will need to prove they're under strain and get their spending plans approved by the government. If you're sipping matcha while watching this, you better savor every drop of it, because the world's obsession with the green powder is starting to cause problems, especially in Japan. In Uji, the historic heart of matcha production, demand is outpacing supply fast. Some shops are selling an entire month's worth of matcha in just a single day, even with purchase limits.
It is true that we are selling out matcha, but it is natural. It is not because people are over-consuming. Okay, some people are consuming, but the reason why we're selling out is because there's only one harvest season a year for the matcha leaves. So depending on the blend of matcha, these raw leaves may be harvested in spring, summer, or even the fall. Because of the rise of popularity in matcha this year, a lot of the matcha farms did not expect to sell out this quickly. They only had a certain amount of raw leaves that they kept in store to make matcha powder out of. But because matcha became so viral in the beginning of this year, a lot of these brands did not know how to manage that.
Tea ceremony instructors, temples, shrines, they all rely on steady supply. But that's now under threat. The sudden surge is driven in part by tourists. Japan's tourism industry hit a record this year with nearly 37 million visitors. Health trends and the drink's viral aesthetic have only fueled the hype, especially online, where matcha desserts and drinks light up social feeds. There is talk of expanding tea farms to boost production, but that takes time. Until then, true Uji matcha is becoming harder to find, and that scarcity is only making it more desirable. From matcha to mocha, your daily coffee hit might be doing more than perking you up. Research from the US-based Nurses Health Study has found that drinking caffeinated coffee in midlife is linked to healthier aging in women.
The long-term study followed 47,000 female nurses for 30 years. Nearly 4,000 of them met the criteria for healthy aging. Drinking coffee helped women with physical health, memory issues, mental health, and serious long-term illnesses. These women also lived longer than 70 years and had no chronic illnesses like cancer, diabetes, or kidney failure. The study also found that other caffeinated drinks like tea, cola or decaf coffee did not show the same benefits. So ladies, that morning brew could just be the secret to longevity.
And that's our show. Find our latest stuff on YouTube and do subscribe to our channel. See you soon.